Hello, Belvire here for another Belvire Quick Take. So, one interesting thing I saw not too long ago was an interesting tweet. And what the tweet was referring to was like this. It was like, it's rather sad how boys these days don't learn things like cooking or sewing in school. You are sadly allowing them to become more subservient and such. And really, what this sort of tweet is really referring to is the fact that within sort of education in the modern parlance, there really isn't a lot of sort of what is referred to with class referred to as home ec being taught as much anymore, and especially not being taught particularly towards boys because of the fact that home ec and home economics has become a far more quote unquote gendered field than it used to be when I was in school, when I was in middle school slash high school, and took home ec, I took home ec, learned how to sew, learned how to cook, etc. And those are the sort of things that were natural and sort of happened within schools. But that's not really what this sort of tweet sort of sparked into me. What it really sort of sparked in me was sort of thinking about something that my dad had sort of told me. And what he told me was when he was younger, he wanted to learn about as many things as possible. And what he called it, he referred to it as the James Bond theory, is what he always used to call it. And if you don't know, James Bond was a very sort of old movie franchise that was from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and as well as it was told from the 90s about this sort of spy who ran around and was every woman wanted him and every man wanted to be him sort of attitude towards this sort of suave debonair like character. And my dad's sort of James Bond theory was that he wasn't doing anything that someone like a James Bond character could do, which was that a James Bond is sort of independent and self-sufficient enough where he would learn everything, where you would learn how to sew, you would learn how to cook, you would learn how to do things like typing, which at the time when my dad was younger, typing was not something that was typical for boys to be able to do because when he grew up, typing was something that people who would become sort of secretaries would be doing. And that sort of attitude always sort of led me to think to myself, yeah, I always need to learn as much as possible and to learn to grow. And going back to the original sort of tweet that I saw, it's really sort of weird to me to some extent that there is a sort of prevailing attitude within our culture that certain things and activities and learning how to do certain things and activities are gendered. When in reality, there really is no sort of gender to the ability to cook. There is no sort of gender in the ability to sew or cut hair or do makeup or any of these sort of things. These things aren't gendered. They're just sort of weird constructs that we sort of toss on top of things. And that's my Belvira quick take.